Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of Outside of Life, where I chat with inspiring artists and create various art-related videos. My name is Eva and my guest today is Lioba Brückner, and in this episode you will learn about her art process and how she generates income from her art.
Patreon seems to work, Instagram seems to work, and YouTube seems to work. But I would just pin down the income streams that can sustain me the most, and I would just focus on them.
Lioba is a painter based in Germany and she studied at Academy of Arts in Düsseldorf, and she's most known for portraying young women in surrealistic manner superimposed by plants or insects. Lioba's art is influenced by contemporary artists, old masters, Japanese culture, science fiction, fantasy movies, and her admiration for nature. She runs a very popular art YouTube channel full of art tutorials and traditional paintings. So please welcome Lioba Brückner and let's get to the interview. So welcome everyone to the next episode of Outside of Life, and I'm super happy to have Lioba here. Hi!
Hi Eva, so great to see you today.
Oh, super grateful that you joined us today, and let's share some of your background and we can talk about tips and how you work. But let's start with your background and maybe you can share some of your creative outlets when you were a child.
Yeah, sure. So I think I just never stopped drawing. Like every child, I would draw and paint. And yeah, I think I just started with manga art and just animals and monsters. And I was super into Pokemon and Digimon. Like I would be crazy about these games and I still like them today. But yeah, this was just the background. And like the most important thing, what really gave me the opportunity that I can be a professional artist, where when I met my boyfriend, and he's still my partner, so and yeah, he was at that time 18 and I was 17, so it was like in my late teens already, when I really learned it and when I pursued it, because he did it already and I was like, I want to learn it, so please teach me.
So he was already like a freelance illustrator or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. He was 18. I was so impressed. This was like so amazing, and I never thought like that you could do it. I just thought it was a hobby or something. Yeah, and also I was totally not into an internet art community. I didn't know if things existed back then. Like, I don't know which year it was, but like 11 years ago or something like that. And I don't know if there were Instagram or Facebook or something. Nothing. I didn't know anything. So this was pretty exciting for me to learn it.
So what did you start it with? Was it already like traditional paints, like watercolors, or did you were like, okay, I really want to try digital and combine with watercolors, or what was your tool?
So I was really young then, and I just didn't know what to do. And I was like, okay, I just do everything that you do now, because I just had no idea. I just wanted to learn it. And he was like, okay, then do still lifes and portraiture. And then I would just do what he would say to me, like, okay, now paint this portrait or now paint this still life. And then I would pretty much continue on doing it for, I don't know, 5 years or what. And then I would think, okay, and now I actually like to I'm more into people, drawing people, especially girls, so it would develop after time. In the first year, I just didn't know anything. I would just do what he would suggest, and I was just totally happy that I could learn from him. Yeah. So, but it was hard too.
And did he give you also like a feedback, or where did you kind of learn, like maybe anatomy and color and all of these?
Absolutely. So I was pretty grateful for that. I mean, I think it is difficult as a young person to receive feedback, because you have to learn how that feedback is always a good thing. But I was pretty stubborn. I would be like totally like angry, like, why don't you like it? Or why do you criticize it? But it was so helpful. Like, it just is a process after years that I learned, and it's so valuable. So yeah.
So while you were learning, you were still in school, right? So you didn't have to worry like, okay, I need to find a job right away, or...
It was when I was 18, like my school ended. I finished school, and then I would study, and he was a year, he's 1 year older than me, so he studied 1 year before me. And we both applied to the Academy of Arts in Düsseldorf because we thought at that time, okay, we have to do it. When we want to be a professional artist, we really have to do it. So yeah, we were both would apply there, and we both got accepted, which is pretty, like, it's not usually so a lot of people get rejected. So this was so because I didn't have any plan B. I was only right to that academy and nothing else. So if they wouldn't have accepted me, I would be probably like devastated and didn't know what to do. So I was lucky. Yeah.
And so how did you then find your first job? Was it already during the studies on the university, or, you know, like, was it through YouTube, or what helped you to start YouTube? What kind of the decision which was going on in your head?
So like the online personality or thing that people like know from me only happened in the last 3 years. Like, but I learned art 11 years ago. Like there's like a huge gap of years where I did nothing of it. So while my studies at the academy, I would occasionally maybe sell a still life or maybe sell a portrait. But after that, I just didn't have the feeling that I could make a living out of my art. Like the art that my boyfriend does, for example, is a bit more modern and more adult. Whereas my art is very girly and like joyful and just very colorful. And like in the German art scene, like people like really the modern stuff more, and they would buy more it. And so I never had the feeling that my art could sell. Like I did have a gallery and they would sell occasionally art from me, but I would never say, okay, I can make a living out of it. So I would go into web design. I was I programmed like as a hobby a website, and I would do that after my studies for I think a year or two. And yeah, then after that I would decide, okay, I really like this job. It's amazing, but I kind of think that I waste my time with it because like you can't do programming and art at the same time, because programming is art itself. It also has the same feeling. I liked it really a lot, and but it's so complicated that you can't really divide your brain into making art.
Yeah, definitely. But it's so funny because I did that as well before. So I went to
This is
multimedia
amazing,
school,
right?
and I was like, oh, okay. So I think I would want to switch again to art because the programming maybe it's not my thing.
It's so fascinating. Like it draws you in because you really want to solve these problems.
Yeah.
Like if you have, this is like so addicting. Like you want to make something and then you try the whole day, and when it finally happens, you're like over the moon.
Yeah, it's working.
It's so amazing. Like the reward you get, it's like drugs. It's really amazing. So I was really into it, and I still like it. But you have to decide that you can't do everything in life. So yeah, it's hard, but I'm very happy with it. So I'm happy I did it.
So, and now, because you didn't mention what was then your first job after the uni, was it the gallery or the commissions, or?
No, my first job was in the web design company.
So this one, okay.
Really traditional art. Well, I did have a gallery while I was working there, which would occasionally sell art from me. And after like the year I would do the programming job, then I said, okay, I don't want to do it anymore. I want to do art. But then I also said, okay, I think I want to do a computer game. I want to program a computer game. So I think I spent like a couple of years doing that instead of focusing my art. So I just didn't really earn any money in that time. So I was like mid-20s, and I was thinking like, oh my God, I just didn't do anything. I just did so many things, and I didn't earn really a lot of money except for the year I was in the programming company, who paid me very well. Like it was like before that I would work in fashion retail, which I really loved. Like all the people were amazing. I got a bit sense of fashion, which I wouldn't have today. I would look so awkward if I wouldn't have worked there because I could learn a bit there. So I just spent like several years programming and just do things that I like. And my boyfriend, who was working as a professional artist, just sustained me and would support me. So he would just do it. This is okay. So really, I'm really thankful for it. Otherwise, I would probably have worked some job.
So, and what was the thing you kind of learned, which helped you to progress the most in your artistic skills?
Being okay with criticism. This is so important. And not only criticism concerning or regarding art, but also like more general things, like, for example, how to present yourself while you talk with someone, like not like talking all the time about yourself, for example, like things like that, and like being open to criticism and just how to approach things. For example, you could say, okay, I'm just doing only the things that I want the whole day long, but it is also important to do the things that you have to do even if you don't want them, and just being open to people who just say those kinds of feedback to you or criticize you in this way, but they want to help you, but not be a person who's like, I don't listen to you. I like, how do you say it? Like, I'm a very stubborn person, and it just takes. I mean, this is good on the one hand because nobody can really say me things, but on the other hand, just be a bit more open to criticism of all kinds. So I think this is the most important thing, because you can learn from so many people and they can tell you so many different things, because one can never be good at everything. I might be good at this certain thing, but so many other people are good at other things and I can learn from them. And if they give me critique, this is amazing. Yeah. And I think from my boyfriend, it's too, like when he criticized me or I criticize him, we are both open to it. So we both think, okay, even if I might not like the critique, there must be something in it that is valuable. So this is very important to me.
Which will help you improve for sure. So it's for the future steps. And can you give us maybe some example of the maybe the critique, like, okay, I don't know how to paint hair or how to use color, or maybe what was the feedback which helped you to improve?
Oh, there are so many. We do criticize us every day. So I don't know, like everything. I think, the most important for me is everything that is not related to art, because they are like the general things that you could work on yourself as a person and on your character. Just this is for me the most important. For example, not being stubborn and defensive when critique comes into you, but instead like thinking about it, be open and just think on a rational and reasonable way about it, instead being emotional. Like many people, if I would tell them, for example, don't be so rude, like, try to be a bit more, I don't know, friendly, then people might become a bit more defensive instead of like, okay, maybe I was rude. But on the same hand, me as a critiquer or criticizing person, I have to also think about how to formulate my critique. Just instead of saying, hey, don't be so rude, I could say, maybe you might change the way how you would say things, like that. So the basic things are important.
Do you also have like some favorite books on these topics, or something you read recently or you would give as a gift to some friend? I have a lot of books that I like, but there are so many. Like I do have books on art that I would recommend. I think it is Drawing, Anatomy and Art, Bernd Hogarth. Hogarth. He's very famous. So his book is probably classic literature if you would become a comic artist or something like that. Okay, then I have to put it on the reading list. I don't think I read that one, but with the receiving feedback or giving feedback, I read recently quite good book as well. It's called Art of Persuasion. That is also quite nice.
I have something similar to that, like how to. It's pretty much horrible, to be honest. It's like how to persuade people.
Influence people and win friends or something like that, or make friends.
Pretty how would you say it, like something I found a bit despicable, to be honest, because I would be like that, but I think very valuable things were in that. I didn't read it to the end because it was made from a selling person who was a professional seller.
That one was also interesting, and the recently I read also Stand Out. It's like to learn about the presentation, how not to be nervous when you are selling a pitch or presenting your artwork or something like that. That is also quite interesting.
I just accept being nervous. This is my strategy. I accept it. No,
That is good. But how to bring your strengths when you are presenting something for
right.
your audience. But let's go back to art maybe, and you can share some of your processes, like how you actually work on your artwork. How do you do maybe research, or what goes into your whole thing when you're starting a new project?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. So I'm mainly a visual person. So this is, I think, the most bad thing about my art is that I'm really only about the visuals. I'm not really about like a heavy message behind my art, because I enjoyed so much just having something beautiful and ethereal, and so I just go the visual way mainly. For example, I would go through Pinterest or Instagram and just have like 10 images or so that I would save, and then or that inspire me, and then I would think how can I create an artwork out of them. So I would maybe pick an eye here or a face there, or if I'm lucky, I could use the whole photography, because like many photographers don't mind, or something sometimes I ask them and they say, sure, you can use it. And yeah, I would put them together and then make an artwork out of it. I would put them together in Photoshop, and then I would make a traditional artwork out of it. So don't skip the important part.
Yeah. So how do you go from Photoshop? We have an image, it's kind of like a collage of different images. Mm-hmm. And then how do you go to traditional from that?
I have two approaches to that. The one approach is the more fun way, which I can do when I have time, which I haven't anymore, so I can't do it so much anymore. This is, I would just use the reference and draw it freehand on my canvas or on my paper, depending on what medium I use. The other one is that I would use either a projector, or I would trace it directly, that I have the outlines, and then I would fill everything with color. This is like, it saves the most time. It's not so fun, because you have like the joy of comparing the anatomy and the proportions. It just really feels more artistic to me, but I kind of need to pay the bills and I have to see what I have to do. So yeah.
So how much time do you usually give yourself for the whole art process? Do you limit yourself, or
no.
You just do like maybe one painting a day or per week, or how do you kind of plan your time?
Oh my God, don't get me on planning. I have a whole system on planning.
Oh, good.
So, but basically on the artwork, like every artwork needs as long as it takes. So I don't make any limitations there, because I mainly think as an artist, like if my art has to suffer, I won't do it. Like this is hard. This would be horrible. I wouldn't feel healthy. So, yeah, if the artwork takes a week or 2 weeks, and it is like a larger thing, that I would do, okay, I have to go through it, because I really want to do the best artwork possible. But in advance, I can see, okay, when I do a watercolor piece, it might not take me longer than really 3 days. Normally they take, because they're not so large, like in this format. If I would do something larger, it would obviously take more time. But yeah, I just plan beforehand. Oil paintings take longer than watercolor paintings. Mostly a couple of days for an oil painting, but for larger oil paintings, a month, for example.
Yeah, because they also need to dry and all of that.
To dry and all the details, and like details on watercolor paintings are so much easier to do. This is why I just shifted over time to do so many watercolor pieces, because they are so fast and I can produce so much of them.
Yeah, and because you like planning, so let's talk about that a bit as well.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it, because I really love planning.
So how do you then plan your week or a month? When you have like oil paintings, you have watercolor paintings, you need to also record the videos and do the voiceovers, do the scripts and editing the video, uploading, rendering, and all of that. So how do you do that?
So I do have a planner. I have a monthly planning sheet. Mm-hmm. This is just something I got from Pinterest, like the decorational flowers. And then I have here like Patreon, Bad Apple Artist Collective, where I'm in because I have jobs there too. Then galleries, commissions, stuff, and YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. And so I would write every month. And there are things that are already occurring every month. Like all my patrons rewards are always the same. So I would print them directly out. And then I would, these are the monthly things that I do. And for the day, I usually have a booklet, but I lost it, so I just used paper for it. So I would just write the things that I have to do every day on this paper. And then I would, because I have to reward myself, and when I would have to do something out of this task, I would use like little squares. Mm-hmm. Like squares.
Nice.
And then I would like paint the half of the square out if I would already did half of the task.
Oh, nice.
Or maybe a third when I would do a third of the task. And so it just helps me so much. and after every month I would proudly share this sheet on my Instagram story, and then I would say I finished the month.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, but then also this helps you with, kind of being happy about your work, because you see the accomplishments over the week, month, or, like some people do this like miracle morning where you write down what you are grateful for or what you accomplished. Oh, yeah. And that's a kind of way to do it as well.
Yeah, that's true. And I think also like annoying tasks, for example, I don't know, shipping orders, but I write it down because it can take like 4 hours, because I have to print them, ship them, then the tracking numbers, put them in my shop, and this takes a long time. So I write it down, and all the single things that this tasks consist of, for example, like do the prints, then embellish the prints, and then ship them, and then write the tracking IDs into my e-commerce system. So these are like little things, but they eat up so much time.
Definitely. Yeah. And what do you have as an e-commerce? Can you recommend maybe some app or something?
Absolutely. Squarespace is my number one to go. It is the best I've ever seen. Even if I could do like the whole program myself if I wanted to, if I would be crazy. But why do it? Like Squarespace just makes such a great job. So I think it's also different for how much you are already in your art career. So if you can spend 300 euros a year, which I invest into Squarespace, then it is okay. But at first you would say, okay, this is so much money I wouldn't spend. So I would probably go for beginners. I would recommend, for example, Weebly or maybe Store Envy, because Store Envy is completely free and you have a store. So I would probably go for Store Envy, or maybe even WooCommerce. I think WooCommerce.
Yes, yeah, WooCommerce, yes.
Yeah, but you have to do a bit of knowledge. But I think this is a great thing if you have really a very limited budget and you want to save as much money as possible, then I would recommend WooCommerce probably. But it's not so easy. So
yeah, you need someone maybe to help you to install it or just have it running.
Yeah, just read through the stuff. I believe that everyone can do it themselves if they just read enough on the internet. Just read, follow the instructions, you will make it, and yeah.
Definitely. And when you mentioned as well that you have a Patreon and like we talked about YouTube, so how do you do you do process batching? Like maybe like one day you work on videos, another day you work on shipments and the Patreon things, or how does your normal day look like?
Oh, yeah, this is depending on so many factors. Like most of the time, I want to create a YouTube video per week. So I will definitely, after a couple of days, I will say, okay, I have to do a YouTube video now, even if I maybe don't want to paint instead. But it is depending on how long everything takes. So if I have like little things, I would put them all in one day. If I have large painting day, I would say, I'm just painting today. I'm not doing nothing else. And yeah, YouTube day is normally one day, shipping day is normally one day, but it really depends. It's not like, it's very flexible. It really is what do I have to do now? Mm-hmm. And then what makes more sense. And I also talk about it with my boyfriend, because he has also a schedule. So we just talk to each other. Okay, I'm doing today this, and maybe you use the whole studio space tomorrow. Mm-hmm. If you need more space than usually. And so we just organizing it.
Yeah. And do you have a studio at home, or do you have to travel somewhere?
We have a studio in the same house we are living. It's downstairs. It is very small though. Yeah, but yeah, this is great. So we have their little studio.
Yeah, yeah. So it's actually good that you don't have to spend time traveling, and then
This would,
you,
yeah,
yeah, just
this,
like you still have special space, so it's not like your
yeah.
bedroom or living room or something.
This wouldn't be possible because my boyfriend paints large paintings. It just wouldn't be possible. We would have to rent something if we hadn't a studio here. But we would also always want to have a studio in the same space.
Yeah, and as you are a freelancer, right, then how do you combine your income streams so you don't have like all the eggs in one basket, right?
Oh my God, I think I have too many eggs and too many baskets, but it works right now. So I would, before I couldn't live from my art, I would try like every single thing out, and then nothing would work. And then after like a year, I would think, okay, Patreon seems to work, Instagram seems to work, and YouTube seems to work. And then I would just skip the gallery shows. So I don't do gallery shows anymore. I think I have like the one that I already accepted. I do, but I won't accept anymore unless it's like a super fancy gallery or something like that. But I would just pin down the income streams that can sustain me the most.
Yeah.
And I would just focus on them. And these are like really Patreon. Instagram is for me is for selling prints and also artworks. I don't gain like money from Instagram itself, but just the
yeah, because you can have also sponsorships on Instagram if you post through different companies, but you do only mainly to sell your art prints.
That's right, and also original works too. They sell mainly through Instagram. Through Facebook it works too, but so less people see my actual posts on Facebook that it's like I don't know, like lottery or something if they actually see my art there. And YouTube, like over the last year, the income really grew. So I can say, okay, this makes sense. If the income would grow more, this would be amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then, so you are still doing one video per week on YouTube, right? And for Patreon, you do like specific, paintings per each, I don't know, tier? Or do you do one painting for them to learn?
So I do 2 videos for my Patreons per month. And when I do an artwork, I would see, okay, if this would be better for a tutorial for Patreon or maybe just a YouTube video. It's usually that I have my best artworks that I do for Patreon, and then I make for longer videos, like real-time videos. And then I would time-lapse them, and then I would use them for YouTube. So I use the same artwork for Patreon, for YouTube, and for prints. And when I'm happy, I can also sell the original. This is the way that works for me.
Yeah, that totally makes sense, yeah.
It's so much work to do it, but in the end it makes I can then do artwork that is not so expensive, because my art, when you would compare the prices of my artwork to prices that would sell on art fairs, it's like they would laugh at me. It's like ridiculous, because they sell like thousands of euros and $10,000, and I maybe sell my artwork for maybe $500 or maybe over 1,000 sometimes, but very rarely. So this is a way how I can make it work for me, because I still enjoy doing those pretty girls and small artworks. Yeah, but I still have to make a living out of it.
Yeah, so. Definitely, yeah, because I mean, we don't make art to make money, but make money to make art. So, so you have to be able to live from something. And so sometimes maybe people don't realize it, but
yeah, that's true. They don't realize it sometimes, yeah.
And is there something you wish you knew before you started the whole art career? Something you would advise yourself?
Well, when you would have asked me the question like 2 years ago, I would say, oh my God, I could have spent all the time on Instagram earlier, on Facebook earlier. But now I've changed my mind about that, because like all the time that led me to this place, I learned so much. I could own my skill, practice my skill over the time without any distractions. I didn't use Facebook. I didn't use the internet like at all. I just would paint, and this could help me to just learn even better. Yeah. Like every artist has come to its place, and I don't think, I think like in all these experience and memories, there's so many valuable things to learn and advices that you couldn't say like one thing that you would wish. There's so many things that come to the one point where you are. So I wouldn't change or anything. Just I don't know.
Exactly. But also as you mentioned, I didn't use Instagram. What I think 2 years ago. That was like when I kind of started. I was like, oh, everyone is on Instagram. Oh, okay.
Right.
And if we, when you mentioned also like what you would wish you knew in the past, what would you consider also the most difficult time? Because that's where we learn the most.
Yeah, this was actually like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where I was like almost 30 or like in mid 20, and I didn't have an income, and I felt so like horrible because I couldn't sustain myself. This was like horrible for me. I would feel like so down and I didn't know what to do. Everyone had a huge income. They would have like giant Kickstarters and Patreons where they would earn loads of monies. And I would be like, I earn like $300 in a month or something like that. And this would just depress me. So I just started, what helped me was I started to think, okay, my goal is to sell one artwork a month. It doesn't matter how expensive it is, just one artwork per month. And then I would slowly increase my goals. And this was the first time was horrible because I just felt very, very bad about myself. Mm-hmm. But just over the time I learned that first I didn't have a reason to feel bad, actually, because you have to start somewhere. You can't just expect to. And secondly, it will grow after time. Just if you put work into it, it will grow anyway. Doesn't matter what you do. If you do music or art, anything will work out if you put enough time into it. So it was a bad time, but I didn't realize that I shouldn't be that depressed at that time. So
And do you have maybe something you do daily now which contributes to your success, like the meditation or sketching in the morning or something like that?
I think like the success that I have is just mainly that like my followers give it to me. So they choose, okay, they like my art. So I have to thank them for my success. They supporting me. And
something you do like every day, do you talk to your community, every day, or something which helps you, on everyday basis?
So what helps me now, because sometimes I still get like depressed or jealous or something ridiculous like that. What now helps me is doing exercises every day, almost every day. So I do it like since 3 months or so. And this really, it changed so much. I can, and I recommend fitnessblender.com for it, because they offer like a program for a month which costs like $9 and which you can use your whole life. So this is great.
That's interesting. Yeah. Because I also do just like this like half-hour exercises, because they're just like we are sitting the whole day, right? So it's good to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And if we kind of think about like, okay, how does your normal day look like? What are maybe the projects you are working on now, or something you would like to work on in the future, like 5 to 10 years, your dream scenario?
I don't know. I just want to make the same thing that I do now, just forever. Like I don't want to do anything big. I just want to continue doing my artwork. I want to continue doing my YouTube and my Patreon. I don't want I don't know. I don't see myself into some big thing. I don't know. I just want to have maybe a larger studio with my boyfriend, and that's all.
Are you planning maybe some stories for your characters, or specific, the background for, I don't know, like why they wear what they wear, or different hair, or I don't know?
Well, I like sometimes when I have time, I like to buy dresses or just have models over there that I would do makeup on, and then I would put them and photograph them. But I'm very bad at stories. I could never write an own story. I'm just so bad at it. I just really enjoy painting and just inventing like the costumes and just looking at beautiful costumes and try to work them into my paintings, however, like in Photoshop or in real life. This is just, I just really Right.
And do you have like a favorite tool so you cannot live without, like a favorite paper or
Yeah.
favorite paint?
I'm probably married to my laptop because without that I couldn't do anything.
But that,
Yeah.
yeah. But you do like mostly traditional art, right? So do you have also favorite sketchbook, or it's mainly like, okay, this is my tool. What I love is the computer.
Well, the computer, this is only the tool for me to share it with the world, and which is like the heart of my business, because without it, I would have to use my actual paintings, go on the street and tell them to people. So if I wouldn't have which I did when I didn't have a following, I would take my painting, I would go to the next tattoo studio and I would sell it to them. So yeah, I just like a various range of stuff. Like, of course, my oil paints, I use Schminke, Rembrandt. Love my watercolors. They are also from Schminke. I have cheap brushes for like $1, but they are amazing. Paper. I use Fabriano paper a lot for my watercolors, and Hanemühle Britannia paper a lot. And yeah, of course, a good easel is important. Also my cameras to record it is important. A good smartphone is so important to take photos for Instagram. Don't underestimate it. It's super important. So many things. Like if one of it lags, it would be a bit difficult. So over the years, I could collect all the stuff. I would start with a bad smartphone and yeah.
Yeah. So definitely you don't need everything at the same time, but it's just like when you find one tool which you like, it definitely helps in the process.
Yeah.
And because also just to record with your phone the whole video process or take pictures, that also works well.
I started with it. Yeah, I started with recording with my phone and it worked. It was crappy, but it worked.
Definitely. And I actually just got also the Fabriano paper because I wanted to try it. So I haven't tried it yet, but the texture looks really beautiful. So I will be making some too.
This is so wonderful. Yeah, I would advertise it forever because it helped me so much. So so hopefully it would help you too. It's really, it's a good paper, the Fabriano one. Yeah. I did receive like a bunch of other papers from a patron of mine. She was super sweet. She sent me paints and papers and I did a review from them. So I think there are other papers beside of the Fabriano paper which are good too.
Definitely. But it is the best thing. You can try different things and then decide for yourself like, okay, I love this one.
Yeah. This is true.
And when you mentioned like some of the books you like, do you also have like a favorite documentary or maybe a movie you like now recently or some other inspiration?
I think like TV series, for example, Stranger Things were a good one. Let me think. I watch a lot of documentaries just while I paint, so I more or less listen to them. Yeah, so what I really find very inspiring is like a podcast. It's called Waking Up Podcast by Sam Harris, and it's a lot about science and meditation, and also a lot of political stuff. And I really like it because it's something completely different from the other stuff. And also like audiobooks while painting is amazing.
Yeah, so you listen to all of it while you are painting, or also when you are making breakfast maybe, or it's mainly during the painting time?
No, only during the painting time, because weirdly when I paint, or also when one paints, you have like some part of the brain that has nothing to do, whereas if you would write something or you would do something on the computer, all your brain would be used, all your concentration. But when you paint, you have something left, and you could use it for audiobooks, just anything that you can listen to, music too. But I think like things where you can either listen to amazing fantasy story or just something scientific, like the podcasts. This is really wonderful. This is so just joyful to.
I totally agree. Because I also listen to podcasts when I go shopping, or if I am traveling, if I'm in a tram or train. That's kind of good use of time, because I'm like, okay, I'm just sitting here, so that's a good one. And so actually one of the last questions I would like to ask you is about far future, and I would like to know, what would you be like to remembered for?
I think for my art, probably. So I think I do have a lot of people who really like my tutorials. So maybe when people also remember that I might be a good art teacher would be good, but also just my art in general. Like, yeah, this would be good.
Perfect. Yeah, yeah.
And maybe that I'm not a horrible person would be good too.
Yeah, that's definitely nice.
Good art, but horrible person, no. Just good art, okay person, it's all I ask for.
Definitely. And before we say goodbye, maybe you can share last piece of advice or key takeaway, and then we will slowly finish.
Yeah, I would say just listen to what you really want, what you really enjoy the most, and do everything you can, and don't try to rely on other people and think that something happens without you doing it, because you have to do it yourself, would be one thing. The other thing is, of course, believe that you can do it, but also be open when other people want to help you, and let people help you is also important. Yeah, don't be sad if it doesn't work at the first time. It will take a lot of time, and never stop believing in it, what you're doing.
Yeah,
is
definitely.
probably what I would share. Yeah.
So just basically continue and never stop, and just don't
Yeah.
give up, and yeah, it will come.
It will definitely come. And if you suck at something, because I'm very bad at, for example, English, like it's not my natural language. Like, it is okay when people help you. For example, I have a person who's now correcting my scripts for my video. This is great. Like, be okay if you have like things that you're not very good in, and then let people help you on this.
Yeah,
this is important. You don't have to do everything yourself. Just, you don't have to do it.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. I totally agree. And yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Aw.
It was so nice.
Thank you too, because you're so nice and you're a sweetheart. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, definitely my pleasure. And thanks everyone who joined today as well. And hope you are inspired, and now you can go draw more and yeah, just practice every day. So
Definitely.
yeah. So thanks everyone, and thank you as well again. And yeah, see you everyone in the next video.
See you and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, because I post new videos every week. I will be also super happy if you let me know your thoughts in comments and give the video a thumbs up. You can find all the resources mentioned in this episode at artsideoflife.com. Just type a guest name in the search bar. There is also a couple of free artist resources ready for you. So if you want to listen to the interviews on the go too, make sure to check out the podcast at artsideoflife.com/podcast. Continue to inspire each other, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye!